Hello friends, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, insane people, and everything in between. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get right into today's Reddit posts. Constructing a barrier that causes my neighbor's yard to flood. Last year, I got new neighbors. They're the type of people who make decent neighbors. The other neighbors seem to like them. But terrible next-door neighbors, if that makes sense. We're civil, nod to each other when we make eye contact, but we're not friendly. We've had a few conflicts in the past and don't go out of our way to interact. We share a fence that has a 1 to 2 inch gap underneath. They kept dumping stuff, or stuff would get dumped over, on their side of the fence, and it would leak onto the concrete sidewalk directly on my side of the fence. The first time this occurred, it was some sort of paint I still haven't been able to lift. So recently, after the most recent spillage was some sort of oil, I picked up some small concrete bricks 2x6x2 and a sealant and constructed a barrier against the side of the fence from the yard line to the back/front fence. Keeps their liquids on their side and my liquids on my side. Doesn't look too shabby either, just like a little curb that doesn't intrude on the width of the sidewalk. We had rain yesterday. Apparently, now that there is a barrier, it causes their yard to flood a bit more. I've never been in their backyard. I have no idea what their slopes or drainage is like. My neighbor came over to complain this morning that their yard was flooding all of a sudden, and they saw I'd erected my tiny wall against the fence. He said I need to take it down so the water in their yard has somewhere to go. I told them their liquids getting into my yard was the reason I created my wall to begin with. I sympathetically apologized, but said I handled what I needed to on my property, and issues going on with his property were not my problem. He said I was being a B-word, but I shrugged and said, "Don't know what to tell you, man. My yard isn't flooding," and he stormed off. To be fair, I never talked to them about the liquid spillage issue. Honestly, I didn't want to deal with them because they've been pretty unreasonably defensive about stuff in the past, like keeping their kids off my property. So I just dealt with it myself. Am I the a-hole for refusing to donate my kidney to my dying sister because she got with my high school bully? I'm a 35-year-old gay man. When I was in high school, I was bullied severely by Darren. I won't go into the details, but it was really bad. Past the point of typical high school douchebaggery. In my sophomore year, I made the mistake of coming out to one of my friends, who promptly spread this information around the school. Before this, Darren had targeted me for being unathletic and wearing glasses, and had done this to a couple of other kids as well. But after I was outed, it was only me, and only because of my sexuality. After high school, I moved away for college. I made friends, even got a boyfriend, and pretty much forgot about Darren. Until one Thanksgiving, my sister, Ellie, brought home her boyfriend, Darren. No joke, the first thing he said when he saw me was, "Damn, Ellie, you didn't tell me your brother's insert slur for gay people." Ellie effing laughed, as did my dad. I was kinda stunned, but I didn't yell or start a fight. I just got up and walked out. After the fact, my family tried to play it off as Darren was joking because he was nervous meeting the family, and they told me that he and Ellie were serious, so I had to get over it. I just told them all that I wouldn't be attending any event where Darren was. In private, I told Ellie that I feel hurt that she'd date Darren, knowing what he did to me. She basically called me too sensitive and told me that she has the right to date who she likes, which yeah, she does. Since then, I've been putting distance between myself and my family, who seem to have readily accepted Darren into the fold. Recently, my mom reached out to tell me that Ellie was in the hospital and needed a kidney transplant. The rest of the family had been tested and none could donate, and my mom wanted me to get tested because I'm her full brother with a high likelihood of a match. The thing is, after all these years, Ellie is basically a stranger to me. If I were to do this, I'd have to drive 3 states back to my hometown, miss who knows how much work, and give up a piece of my flesh, all for the woman who dated and eventually married the guy who made my high school days a living hell. I told my mom that I wouldn't be getting tested, and she freaked out at me over the phone. I quickly hung up on her, but before I did, I heard her call me vindictive and a monster for refusing to save my sister's life. I admit I feel guilty about it. Man, this is really something, isn't it? I can totally understand where OP's coming from given the situation he's in. And it's not like OP's choice alone is what does or doesn't kill her. I mean, that's what dialysis is for after all, while she's on a list waiting for a donor. So OP's decision is not necessarily a death sentence. But even after all this, OP's sister and family isn't even showing an ounce of consideration for his perspective. And when OP shows hesitation over giving a kidney to someone who's essentially a stranger, OP is only met with hostility and insults against him as a person. So why in the world would he want to help after all this? Some people in the comments are pointing out that at least in the US, if you do get tested, you can tell the doctor that you're being coerced, and they take that into consideration and can tell the patient that you aren't a match, even if technically you are, without actually needing to give specific details, etc. on why you're not a match due to HIPAA and whatnot. So if OP wanted to placate his family to avoid their wrath, he could do something like that. But like OP said, he would have to miss work and go out of his way to travel to do that. And I also don't blame him if he just outright doesn't want to do that either. So no, OP, you're not the a-hole for not wanting to give your organ to someone who doesn't even care about your feelings in the first place. Karen had our charity for kids with cancer thrown out of a public area because it was an eyesore. We had permission to be there. I can't believe a woman like this exists. She was such a terrible person. Not only did she single-handedly tank the event, but she threw a tantrum in regards to a licensed 501c3 charity foundation that helps out sick and terminal children. Here it goes. So I am currently working for a firm that helps dedicate and connect people with esoteric knowledge for nonprofit 501c3 foundations. I primarily work with donors, as I have a lot of experience with owning my own nonprofit and also tech startups, so working with large and small donors is my forte. The foundation I was assigned to oversee as it pertains to having a presence in LA is a charity that helps with children. We are partnered with Make-A-Wish, but this specific foundation not only helps with kids who are terminal/cancer, but helps kids who are in long-term hospitalized care, regardless of their diseases or ailments. What I personally love about this foundation is that it focuses on relieving the financial burdens the families undertake. Utility bills, house bills, car bills, anything we can do to help keep the proverbial lights on at home. Pretty cool, right? So I'm hosting a huge event in a place called Playa del Rey. It's a beachside town in LA that mainly caters to families and people who work in Silicon Beach. We also get a lot of neighboring families from Marina del Rey and Manhattan Beach. All are relatively more affluent areas of LA, and thus requires a lot more finesse when it comes to handling donors. The place we set up was scheduled, and the logistics were handled way in advance with security, so everything was supposed to be frictionless execution-wise. It was a large area filled with high-end boutiques, shopping, restaurants, a Whole Foods, etc. So the day starts out really quickly. Large donors are present and everyone is super involved. People are very interested and everyone is doubling down on this event. In essence, it's going really well. Then a Karen arrives. And not just any Karen. We are actually specifically trained on how to handle these kinds of people. And to be fair, there are scummy people out there who pretend to represent charities to scam people out of their support, time, and money. So I see this woman approach the event in the corner of my eye. She is the quintessential Karen. She's a 40-something petite blonde woman, with overly highlighted shoulder-length hair, large sunglasses, a dog in tow. The dog is actually matching her outfit. It's dyed in various colors with leopard spots, which matches her athleisure yoga leopard leggings. Yikes. So she approaches the event and starts feigning interest. I entertain her, explain why we are here, what we do, and how only if she is interested if she wants to get involved. She suddenly yanks out her phone and started filming and taking photos of the event. Not in a good way. In that sketchy, I'm going to try to F you guys over way. She then starts to pry into the background of the charity. That's fine. I have her look at all the legal information, us on Charity Navigator, our licenses, you name it. She then starts hailing accusations, saying she, quote, works with security in the area, and she is determined to get us pulled out of the area. I'm going to grab coffee, but I'll be back. She turns around and races off to the nearest Starbucks. I pull aside some of my colleagues and explain the situation. Why this woman had decided to march up and accuse a charity that has every right to be here, that they are not important and fake, is beyond me. It doesn't affect her in any way. She comes back 10 minutes later. Raging, she starts to scream at us, telling us about how important she is in this community, and how we need to leave. She doesn't give a damn about what we are here for. She doesn't give a damn about the cause. She doesn't like the, quote, eyesore. It's a charity. It's for children. She is literally stealing from children and their families. The event was not smack in the middle of the area, it was on the side. And it wasn't like we were yanking people from their errands and forcing them to participate. This is a voluntary event. So she returns and starts becoming very hostile. She then starts accusing us of ruining the atmosphere of the area, and continues pontificating how important she is, and how dare we violate her sacred space. After what seemed like forever, we calmed her down and she started calling security. Security came, we explained the situation, but the damage was done. Surprisingly, rather than deal with her, they figured it would be less of a hassle to have us leave. That is what was so upsetting. She was such a menace that rather security deal with her appropriately, they made us leave because it's easier than dealing with a raging madwoman. We packed up and ended the event for the day. She was so proud of herself when she watched us leave. She even smirked and waved us goodbye. She was such a terrible person. Not only did she single-handedly tank the event, but she threw a tantrum in regard to a licensed 501c3 charity foundation that helps out sick and terminal children. She stole our time and energy, but more importantly, she robbed needy children life-saving support and care. All because she wanted to be and sound important, exercise a sense of power, entitlement, and gatekeep a public area. She wanted to be a martyr, except her cause was to ruin a real-life charitable cause. I wish her nothing but the best, and a long and truly miserable life. She seems like she is well on her way. Edit. Unfortunately, I did not take photos of her, as I wanted to de-escalate the situation as much as I could. This woman was relentless, so I should have taken photos of her. Hindsight is 20/20. Personally, I was upset how it was handled. Another colleague working alongside me told me she would handle it, and I wish I was more involved on that end. I would have handled it differently. Thank you guys for saying the kind words about the foundation. We are a small charity and I am very proud to represent them. It's called littlesaintnick.org. That's going to be all for today, guys. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed, and also subscribe to the channel for more if you haven't already. So have an awesome day, take care, and I'll see you next time.